My sister came to me and asked for $700 for my niece last year to have contact lenses for a year. They had financial difficulties and my niece really wanted them, but they couldn't afford them. I'm not rich, but I haven't visited them in years due to living in another country. I've missed a few Christmases, so I agreed. It would cover her optometrist visit and contacts for a year. I sent her the money via retransfer, expecting her to do all the legwork to get the contacts. Fast forward a few weeks, I asked if she liked them, the contacts, and she confirmed she did and didn't elaborate. Finally, with travel restrictions lifting, I visited my family and friends. My sister lives in another country than everyone else, and it was a last-minute trip, so I didn't really warn her because I wasn't sure I could visit her. I couldn't get a hold of her, so I called her husband who confirmed they were home. One of my friends cancelled, so I rented a car and drove to the next state. She greeted me but didn't want me to go inside. I was so confused, but luckily her husband saw me too and welcomed me in. I met the kids, their new dog, saw my niece still had glasses on and asked if she had given up on the contacts because they were scratchy and drying. She looked at me like I had 3 heads and said she never got contacts. My sister looked very uncomfortable, and I was so confused, saying I sent some money so she could get contacts. Her husband looked at her and me before asking the kids to go up to their room. My sister used the money to bring home a dog she wanted during the global issue. She told her husband she found the dog and it was probably a runaway with no collar and chip, but in reality, she paid for it. I was upset I got duped into giving her money for a dog they shouldn't have had, according to her husband, because they were having trouble covering the vet bills, but knowing she also paid for the dog with my money caused them to get into a fight in front of me. So I walked out and was angry but finished my trip. My sister called me a month ago to ask me for more money to pay for my niece's contacts for real this time, but I was out of goodwill and told her to save up for it, and she started crying, saying her husband was blaming her for wasting the money and she wanted to make it right by buying the contacts now. I told her to pick up some waitressing shifts to cover the cost. She was a waitress, now a stay-at-home mom, and she yelled at me for being the idiot for not being willing to pay for the contacts. Am I an idiot for not being willing to give my sister money after she lied about where the $700 was going the first time? Not the idiot. If her husband is upset with her wasting the money, hopefully he's a good enough person that he would be upset with her hassling her last victim to have a do-over. Let him know that she's trying to solve her marital problems by mooching even more off of you and that you've lost your goodwill, and hope he understands that you won't be comfortable donating to either of them. I'm floored by the audacity here. To claim she wanted to make it right by buying the contacts with someone else's hard-earned money, she just wants to be off the hook. I tell her you already paid for the contacts and won't be doing it again, and from here on out, I wouldn't buy or send anything to your niece unless she's with you. You know the old saying, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. You owe your sister nothing. She owes you $700 an apology for using the money other than what she told you. She also owes her niece an apology if she made any promises about getting her contacts. The way the niece looked at OP when they asked about contacts and how the husband reacted, she told no one about the contacts and never intended to get contacts. It sounds like this was all a scam specifically to get this dog, and she knew that her husband nor OP would give her the money to get it. So I, 24 male, am getting married this summer to my beautiful fiancée Holly, 25. I'm an only child. I always felt my mom and dad had a very good relationship from the outside, but when I was a teen, my mom cheated on my dad with a family friend. It absolutely broke my dad, and my mom became almost unrecognizable afterward. She was a great mom and always felt like she was affectionate with my dad, but she became cold right after everything came out. My parents tried counseling, but my dad couldn't look at her. The divorce was horrible. My mom went after my dad so hard. She tried to get majority custody and mess him over financially, and on top of everything, she kept dating the family friend. I told her from day one that I wouldn't be dealing with her anymore if she kept dating that guy. So, around 15, I started living with my dad full-time. He was still in a vulnerable spot, but together we started working out and doing things to keep him busy. It took years, but my dad got back to his old self. After that, I spoke to my mom occasionally, even though she lived a couple of blocks away. She would call all the time to try to meet up, but I basically told her to kick rocks and start a new family because I had no interest in being around someone like her. Well, 9 months ago, Holly and I got engaged. My dad asked if I planned on letting my mom know. I told him I didn't, and I wouldn't be inviting her to the wedding. I guess he took it upon himself to call my mom up and inform her, and then they started talking. 3 months ago, I showed up at my dad's, and he and my mom were there. They sit me down and tell me that they've been dating. I called him dumb, pathetic, and reminded him of all the things Mom did to him, how she's probably only back because she's out of money and places to go. My mom tried to intervene, and I told her to shut up. I told my dad that he could do whatever he wanted, but I would not sit by and support it, and we worked together to get him back. So I felt like he wasn't valuing himself or me. My mom has been trying to get an invite to the wedding, but I told my dad it's simple. Your invite is a solo invite without Mom, a +1 if you bring any other human being. My dad is distraught, according to relatives, because he feels like he has to choose between his only kid and his wife. I told my dad that it would be like this from now on. Any holiday would be a solo invite. I wouldn't bring my grandkids around his house if my mom was there, so he needed to think carefully. My mom's side of the family has started trashing me. I told them that if they couldn't understand my position, they better not show up either. So I uninvited all the relatives that were giving me crap on my mom's side. My fiancé is totally understanding. But still, am I the idiot? Not the idiot, but both your parents need to understand actions have long-term consequences that affect not only themselves. Horrific mother aside, if your dad wanted you to support their reunion, he should have thought of that when he used you as an emotional support crutch all throughout your vulnerable teenage years. Stand firm. The second betrayal will hurt all the more. I totally agree with this. The mom is awful. The dad is weak. And she ruined OP's childhood just as much as she did by over-relying on him. OP should not have had a front-row seat to their crap. They should have protected him. Instead, their selfish behaviour ruined his childhood. And guarantee the mom only is back with dad because she wants in on OP's life. She had years to reconcile with him, and only does when OP has a wedding looming. Dad is in for another hard fall. Weak is the word. OP told dad he wouldn't invite mom, but dad tells her anyway. 6 months later, OP finds out they're dating, and OP tells daddies not to bring her to the wedding. Now dad is distraught because he feels like he has to choose between his only kid and his wife. Excuse me, wasn't there a divorce? Dad is well and truly under his ex-wife's thumb, though it wouldn't surprise me if they announced they remarried before OP's wedding. And OP is not the idiot. I separated from my husband a month ago. It hasn't been an easy separation, and we both said and done things during it to hurt each other. We all went to the same wedding. I was trying my hardest to ignore my husband, and I was doing pretty well until my sister pointed out that my husband and cousin were dancing together. I'm going to admit I was upset because I felt like my family, my cousin, should have my back, and she knew how awful he'd been to me during the separation. But I also know my husband well enough to know he only danced with her to get under my skin. They were also very close for two people not in a romantic relationship. I went outside for 20 minutes, and by the time I got back, my cousin was sitting with my family. When I got there, she brought the dancer and my husband up. At first, she tried to justify it by saying she was trying to help him because supposedly he was helplessly being held hostage by a group of women trying to dance with him, and she had to help him get away from them. But it was so obvious by her face that she was happy about the dance. I made a sarcastic comment about how she helped him out. She got upset and asked me what I meant, and I told her he was just using her to get to me. She told me I was wrong and that they were friends and she was just helping her friend out. I laughed when she said they were friends because they aren't and never have been. I think I either embarrassed her or upset her because her face went red, and she told me I was being a witch for no reason before she left. The next time I saw her, she was hanging out with my husband. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot, OP. Dancing with the husband so he can get away from other women? LOL. She really wants him. She knew she should have just kept her distance, and your husband knew he shouldn't have been dancing with her. Also, she brought it up, trying to defend it. She was stirring the pot, and she knew it. Girl, your husband will sleep with your husband if she hasn't already, so be prepared for that drama. If your cousin was going through a painful divorce, would you have danced closely and publicly with the ex? No? Why not? Because it's inappropriate and everyone knows better, including the cousin pretending to be clueless. Did you have to say anything at someone's wedding? I understand you're upset about the situation, but that could have blown up into something bigger and you could have ruined someone's wedding. So for that alone, you are the idiot. However, your cousin gives me shady vibes, and she's the idiot for what she's doing to you, because I feel like it's more than just a dance and friend situation. She may have even contributed to your split. Ignore them both. I, 32 male, was born and raised in the United States, but I live in Canada now. I went to school in Canada almost 15 years ago and was fortunate to get a job offer that allowed me to stay after I graduated. I'm a Canadian citizen now, and I've lived in Canada permanently, full-time, for almost 11 years. I do go back to visit at least once a year, but I haven't seen them in person since Christmas, New Year's last year. So last month, my sister's, 36, boyfriend, emailed me because he wanted to ask my permission to propose to her. Since I haven't been able to visit for over 2 years, I've never met him before. I knew she was seeing someone from what she told me, but I never met him or even talked to him. My sister isn't a kid, and I'm not in charge of what she does. I told him he doesn't need my permission for anything because my sister is an adult who can make her own decisions. But if you're happy together, then I'm happy for you and only wish you the best. That was exactly what I said word for word. He didn't email me again, and I thought what I said was okay. I'm told I'm wrong. He did propose and she said yes. My sister announced the engagement a few weeks later. I'm happy about it since they're happy. But when I talked to my family, they told me I was wrong and mean not to give my permission. My mom said it's tradition. I know men would ask their girlfriend's dad in the past, but it's modern times now, and I'm not a dad. Our dad died 13 years ago. He didn't ask my mom, 59, or even my other sister, 37, or my aunt, 50s, or either of my grandmas, 70s both. All 5 of them live in the same city as my sister who he's dating and have met him. I don't know why he'd ask me. I've never met him and I don't know anything about him, besides the tidbits I'd heard from my sister. If he were a problem for some reason, my mom, my other sister, my grandmas, or my aunt would know because they've met him many times. But he told me not to tell anyone in his email because it was meant to be a surprise, so I didn't say anything that he wanted to propose. Additionally, my sister is a partner in one of the largest firms in all the United States, and her early salary has been more than 4 times higher than mine since she started out. She is a completely independent grown woman. Also, he directly asked my permission and wasn't just giving me a heads up or asking for my blessing. So, am I the idiot? My sister, and by extension, my mom and other sister, are royally angry. Not the idiot. If they wanted OP to follow a script, they should have given OP the script. Also, why is it so important that a brother, a man, gives his blessing for this? Hear me out, please. As opposed to, I don't know, the bride's loving mother who actually knows the gentleman. If that's the route they want to go, ask somebody who knows the couple and knows what kind of relationship they have. I promise I'm not bashing tradition, but to blindside the poor guy and ask him without any heads up, that's just idiotic. I know, right? And if he were to take the request seriously, the only serious answer he could give is no, because if it's up to OP who his sister marries, why would he ever accept a complete stranger he's never met and knows nothing about? Not the idiot, OP. This guy seems to have a lot of internalized misogyny if his first thought is to ask the one family member he's never even met instead of the ones that he actually knows. You were perfectly reasonable telling him that your sister isn't property and it's ultimately her decision what she wants. Misogyny, archaic customs and general weirdness aside, how can your answer, that was gracious and supportive, be interpreted as anything but your agreement? In other words, you did give your permission. I'm not sure what your family expects. An affidavit? A notary certified document? Jesus. My cousin Amber is having a baby. Amber lives across the country from me and the rest of the family. She sent me an invitation to her baby shower in June. I thought it was more to be a nice come-if-you-can type thing. Not that I'd actually be expected to go, because who'd use vacation time, spend hundreds of dollars, and all that just to go to a distant relative's baby shower? My mom's not going either for the same reason. My Aunt Kay asked if we were going and suggested all booking the same flight. My mom told her we weren't going. Kay asked why not, and I said that I only get a week of vacation time and I'm using it for my birthday in September. Kay asked where I was going. I said, nowhere, just taken off the week of my birthday. She said that's stupid and I should want to be there for Amber, that she needs her family and I should be willing to sacrifice sitting around for a week to go to her important event, and Amber doesn't have siblings, so I should be excited to be an aunt to the new baby. That's another reason I don't want to go, because it'll set a precedent that I have to fly there for every birthday party or whatever for the baby and buy a ton of gifts. I'm not having my own kids, so I don't want to be a fill-in aunt either. It's not my fault we were both only children, but I don't think I should be volunteered for that. Well, before Kay left, she brought it up again and said, don't be selfish, family does for family. Am I the idiot for wanting to save my vacation time instead of going to my cousin's baby shower? Not the idiot. The line family does for family is enough for me to tell somebody to buzz off. Nobody has the right to tell you what to do with your free time and money. The same would be true even if she was your sister and it was your niece and nephew. Please enjoy your birthday time off and be good to yourself. Kay sounds like she wanted someone to go with her. I don't think she cares about you being at the baby shower. Just send your cousin a gift and a nice card. Next time, don't elaborate on why you can't do something or pick an excuse that's harder to argue against. She doesn't need to know about your PTO and what you plan on doing with it. I just had my baby shower yesterday and some family members couldn't be bothered to travel less than an hour to attend. I didn't even invite anyone who lived out of state because it was just a party. What a ridiculous expectation to place on you. But it would help if you talk to Amber about it. Maybe she has some expectations that you're not aware. Your aunt sounds a little narcissistic, but it could be some sort of warning.